John 7:3. Dixerunt autem ad eum fratres eius, transi hinc et vade in Judaiam, ut et discipuli tui videant opera tua quae facis. And his brothers said to him, move on from here and go into Judea, in order that your disciples also may see your works which you do. Syntax of this verse is relatively straightforward. It will help you to take it together closely with the previous one, John 7:2. They more or less comprise one sentence together, and John 7:2 sort of sets up the context here. But it is Jesus's brothers who are speaking to him, and we could subtitle John 3 and John 4 as something like Jesus's brothers' bad advice. So the brothers of the Lord have something different in mind than he does, and that's going to become clear. But our business here is to pay attention mainly to the Latin. So we can note a couple things right off the bat here. Dixerunt autem. Autem here probably is just purely conjunctive, and his brothers said to him, ad eum, which we've seen a number of times in place of what we might expect more commonly with words of speaking, which we also see ei, the dative singular of the third person singular regular pronoun. But ad eum works as well in the idiom of the Vulgate. And here's the advice that they give him. So a direct quotation is going to start here and end at the end of the verse. First thing we ought to note is the macro structure of this clause here, ut, plus a subjunctive, and we'll get down to that point in just a moment. But we can note that this all starts with an imperative form of the verb transire. This is a fourth conjugation verb, and it's a compound of the preposition trans, across or over, and the simple verb for going in Latin, ire. And this might be a good time to review what that verb looks like because it's irregular, and perhaps you haven't looked at it for a while. Eo, is, it, imos, itis, eunt. Sorry, that should be is. Eo, is, it, imos, itis, eunt. I go, you go, he, she, it goes, we go, y'all go, they go. That's a very common verb in Latin, and as here, it occurs in lots of compounds with other prepositions and other words. Something probably in English we would say to translate this is like move on, pass by, keep on going, hink, away from here, out of this place, and go, by contrast, into Judea. There's our in plus accusative. And then we get this beautiful, very textbook style purpose clause, also called a final clause sometimes, from the Latin word finis, end. A final clause, therefore, or in Latin what we call a membrum finale, is a clause that communicates the end for which a particular action is undertaken. So, ut signals the start of the clause, and as I said, we can look for and find a subjunctive here, in this case, a present subjunctive. What we've got in the main clause are two present imperatives, and so a present subjunctive indicates that this action, the action of videant, occurs at the same time as, or perhaps even subsequent to, the action of the main verbs. Go on into Judea, they say, in order that also, and don't miss this little et here, it's easy to pass by, but it's significant, in order that also your disciples may see opera tua, your works, which you do. Now, quae facis, strictly speaking, is sort of pleonastic here. That is to say, it's a little bit redundant. We don't actually need that to complete the sense. But here, as so often, our translator is sticking very close to the Greek text, which looks just about exactly the same.